Welcome back to another episode of Marketing 100, where we're leading you through 100 ways to help you grow your salon business. We have Nina Tulio with us today. I'm sure many of you watching this, listening to this, saw the previous episode where we dove into the common pitfalls when it comes to price increases. And we're going to continue that discussion because there's more to unpack when it comes to pricing, such a core component of running a profitable business. What are we talking about today, Nina?
Pricing is the foundation to your business. And if you are not paying attention to your price per minute and price per hour, you could be leaving money on the table.
Ooh. Oh, wow. Price per minute, price per hour. Curious to hear more about that.
Yeah, I don't think this is something we've talked about specifically on the show before. I want to know what you mean by that.
Well, let's get into it. So every single service, you should know your price per minute and your price per hour. And I'm not talking about hourly pricing. It's just taking the price of your service divided by the minutes of your service. If you're doing a $150 service divided by 90 minutes, it's $1.66. And so if you're looking to get the hourly rate on that service, you would take that $1.66 and times it by 60 minutes. So that $1.66 price per minute turns into $100 an hour. You should know this for every single service. I know the first question that people ask me is, what is the target price per minute? What should I be shooting for? It's going to vary based on all of the expenses. There's price, time, business expenses, hours worked, and target profit. Those are the 5 factors of pricing. That's what it's going to be based on. And then, of course, we have to do a little market research as well. So if we don't have all of that data, I can't say shoot for $1.50. But what I can say with certainty after I've coached thousands of people is that when we start to go below 60 cents, things start to get a little bit rocky. So the first thing that I want you to do is calculate your price per minute and price per hour for, let's just say, the top 3 most visited services in your business. That's your homework. First time here, but I'm giving homework.
Yeah, love it. Love it. What do people normally find with this? Like when you do this exercise, you do your 3 services. What's the common case here? Is it like it's similar price per minute, or is it like it's varied, or like what would it normally look like, and what would people do with that?
So your price per minute is going to be different for every single service because it's also based on time. Let's just say we're going to compare a root retouch service and a haircut, combination package, and then we're going to compare a highlight service with a haircut. If we're looking at those 2 services and we look at the 5 factors, price, product cost, time, target profit, and total business expenses, we can look at that and say, okay, which price per minute should be higher? Would it be the root retouch service and haircut or the highlight and haircut service? So actually, I'll ask you guys, what do you think? Which one do you think should have a higher price per minute based on those 5 factors of pricing?
Kayle, I'll hand this to you.
No, I'm doing the math equation lady, like meme right now, where it's just like my face confused with a bunch of equations flying around my head.
Take a guess. Listen, we're here to have fun, right? Just take a guess.
I mean, I would imagine like labor is honestly one of our biggest costs always, obviously. So that's the first place I go.
Right. So would you say the highlight service then at that point?
I would think so.
Yeah. John, is that what you were going to say too?
Then I'll go for the other one. What was it now? The touch up, right?
Root retouch. Yes. Yeah. Touch up service, single process. Yes. So Kayle, it's right. Like if you think about it this way, when you're comparing your services, if we look at a highlight and a haircut service, it's going to take more time and more product. It's more labor intensive. So that service should have a higher price per minute, which is PPM, than the root touch-up and haircut service. And most stylists and owners are doing those 2 services, and they typically tend to be top 3 of their most visited services. Yeah. So when they're comparing them, a lot of times they see that their root touch-up is higher than their blonding service. And it doesn't mean that it can't be. It just showcases that blonding service needs a price increase. Because if you're comparing the 2, you're spending more time, more product, more labor intensive on that blonding service, your highlight service with your haircut, that you could be upside down in those services.
We talk about making business decisions based on business needs and, instead of like emotion, right?
Sure.
And I think it's really hard to sort of like convey price increases, like the reasoning and the thoughts behind price increases, when it's not really grounded in fact, but it's much, much simpler when it's just a strategic business decision where it's like, it costs me this much to do this service, so I have to charge this much to make it worth my time. It's not about greed. It's not about me trying to squeeze every last dollar out of my clients. It's about, this has to make sense for my business, and this is a business decision. When you take the emotion out of it and it becomes strictly a rational decision that's based on the data, then it's actually far easier to communicate to somebody and have them respect it than if you're like, well, we're just trying to keep up with yada, yada, yada. People actually, I think, have a harder time accepting price increases when there's not something concrete attached to it. That makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And like, what would you say to like the argument of like market-based pricing, or like looking at what competitors down the street are charging for their services, and the argument that like, oh, could I take that when they are charging this?
Mm-hmm. We're going to look at it from all areas. First, we're going to the rent. When we look at rent, that's the key driver in terms of the market that you're in. You'll never hear me talk about big town, small town pricing, because it doesn't matter. Someone in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania is going to be charging different than someone in Des Moines, Iowa, right? Because the rent and the market is completely different. And when we use business expenses as part of the pricing, which is what we do, it's going to give us a target price per minute or a baseline price per minute, and then we shoot for the target price per minute as well. However, I will say this, you should know what your competitors are charging. It doesn't mean we're going to charge what they charge, but it's kind of like understanding who your competition is, and also understanding which range do you fall into when it comes to the salon and your brand and your model. Is it a budget friendly model? Is it a middle of the road model? Or is it a luxury service model? And they're all great. They all serve a purpose, but you kind of have to know where you land. And so with the facts and data, I always had one eye on my competitors, not stalking them, but kind of like, okay, they seem to raise their prices, right? You have to know all of it. You have to pay attention to all the things, but we're not going to say, well, Susie down the street is charging 50, so I'm going to charge 50. But it gives me information as to what people are charging around me, and then focus on the value that you're charging.
Yeah, so that you're aware of, like, I'm charging a premium maybe to the other businesses in the area. How am I positioned, right? And what other, like, what am I putting out there? Like, what does my customer service look like? And what's the experience I'm delivering? Do I deserve to charge a premium, or like, where am I, right? As a brand.
Your pricing has to match your brand. Because if your messaging is aligned with your brand, but your pricing isn't aligned with your messaging, your clients are not going to understand who you are and what they can expect in terms of value. So there is almost like a circular motion here where all of these pieces have to be in play. And I don't know if you guys have heard this, but in the last couple of years, I get DMs and I've been seeing this. People are saying, I'm going to decrease my prices. There is no small business on the planet that can decrease prices by 20% and still be a profitable, thriving business, especially in our industry. So people think that if they decrease prices, that it's going to increase the volume of people that are coming in the door, and that's not happening. It's the absolute opposite. And so I think people are operating out of fear. And, I lived through the recession of 2009. I was $90,000 in debt in my business in 2009 when the recession hit. And I remember just having days where I just couldn't get out of bed because I'm like, how am I going to fix this freaking mess that I caused in my business? Because I made poor financial decisions and it was my fault. Now I had a team that I had to take care of. Now this damn recession hit. And I will say that not one time in my business did I ever think I'm going to decrease my prices, because I knew that if I did that, I would close my doors. So I had to become clever and crafty and offer options menus and have, a mini pricing menu and come up with creative ways to keep people coming. And even if it was at a lower price point, at least they're still coming and they're not doing their hair at home. So I don't want people to think that just because they're at a lower price point doesn't mean that they're going to make more money. When you are at a lower price point, you have to have double the volume coming in your business to compensate for that decrease in pricing. And if you don't have a strong marketing strategy, you're going to struggle to get those people in the door.
Wow. I did not know that was a trend for some small businesses. That is the most ass backwards pricing decision I think I could ever imagine. I mean, especially what you talked about, like a lot of salon owners are in debt. Let's be real. Like there's a lot of debt that's incurred and involved with like starting a business like that. And I feel like, a lot of salons have a leaky bucket, in many ways, but that's like a really dangerous way to have a leaky bucket when it comes to your finances.
Yeah, I think, a lot of it just comes from fear, and just not understanding the business. And I think when other people see that other people are doing this and they're having a price decrease, well, maybe it's going to work for me. And because they're not busy, they feel like the best thing to do for them at that time is to lower prices because then it will bring in more people. And a lot of it is just fear. It's rooted in fear. And so I always want to, lead with compassion. I run my business leading in compassion, period, and empathy and understanding, because I was that business owner that was making decisions based on fear. And that's why I got myself into debt and almost lost my business. I almost lost my business twice before year 5. The good news is that I was able to turn it around and sell it, and I sold it because it was very profitable. So there is light at the end of the tunnel. I always think that when you're making business decisions, you have to look within the 4 walls of your business. Everything that you need is within the 4 walls of your business and within you. It's paying attention to your ebbs and flows and paying attention to the data from your own business and not listening to what is going on social media and trends.
I think also like the majority of cases, or probably, majority of cases for sure, the issue is that we are not increasing the prices enough. But there might also be scenarios where people like somehow irrationally or, got hyped up from something about increasing prices, like didn't go through your steps of like how to actually do this and just like, let's take up the prices and like, go get them kind of thing, right? And just like increased and burnt themselves as well. There are some of those stories out there as well. What would you say to that?
Well, that's a big thing that went on. So last year, TikTok, December 2024, hairstylists were getting canceled and salons were getting, we're like boycotting. People were boycotting the industry, right? Because there were some stylists and owners that increased their prices so much from COVID to maybe 2023, 2024, and they didn't add the value to it. So they were having these high price increases and they were almost capping themselves out in their market, but then the value wasn't equal to what they were providing. And so it started a whole shitstorm where people were like, wait a minute, I'm tired of paying these prices and my stylist is on the phone and she's late and my hair isn't looking the way that it was. Why am I doing this when I can go see someone else that's going to do a great job and is going to be far less? And so I think people got a little over the top with their prices. And I think that's because there wasn't a system. Like I rarely will ever do a 20% price increase. That's top tier. That rarely ever happens. And there were people out there who were doing 20 to 30% price increases like it was candy. Now, if you're going to do that and you're going to be the best, then you better deliver every single time with precision and consistency, because the value has to be there and the price has to equal the value. Actually, the value needs to supersede the price at that point in order for them to continue to come back.
Yeah, no, I think that's so important, right? I think if you're like getting to a place where it's like, increase 25%, you're reading that on an Instagram feed somewhere and like, okay, great, I'll do that and I'll solve all my problems, right? And you haven't done the work. That's also like an alarm, like a warning signal, like let's go back, listen to what Nina has to say here and like actually go through this proper.
Yeah, prices are based on demand too.
Yeah.
Demand has to be there in order for you to have these price increases as well. That's why you have to look within your business first.
So that's what we had for you today. Thanks a ton, Nina, for joining us, sharing all this value, getting us grounded in what a price increase or how to manage pricing in a way that drives profitability in your business. So helpful. I know you helped a lot of people out there. You certainly helped me as well. We're going to leave like all the resources you talked about in the description below so that people can go check that out, the free resource that you mentioned earlier. If you haven't already, head over to ninatulio.com. Check out Nina Tulio on Instagram. Thanks a lot, everyone watching. Thanks, Kayle, as well. I never tell you that, but thanks for being here.
Oh my God, I feel so seen.
We look forward to seeing you inside of an upcoming episode.